Okay, that should be good. What's up, everybody? You're taking a smoke break with Blue Anderson. And today, I'm joined by a special guest, Sunflower Magus himself.
The goat man coming in to take a visit.
Yo, so on the itinerary, we have recently established we're going to do a reciting from the Book of Lies. Correct?
You're right about that. Or at least my favorite select passages that got me back into the path a few years ago. You never truly leave the path, even when your life starts to diverge and fork off into different, I really don't even know how to say it. Sometimes you just get fucking lost, and, from that you end up finding where you're at.
Hell yeah. I think that's one of the best things about, like, esotericism in general is, like, it's always there. It doesn't force itself on you, but when you're ready to indulge in a little bit of that madness, you can always just like dive in, and you can always get lost in it over and over and over and over.
Well, yeah, it's like an old friend that you haven't seen in years, but they they still care about you. I don't really know what the Buddhists call it exactly, but I know that we're constantly spinning a wheel, and from that wheel we keep weaving different threads in the causality itself. I can't lie right now, I'm pretty lost, but even from being lost, I find myself every day, so.
Hell yeah. Yo, so I have a little question maybe for some people who aren't very, like, well versed in esotericism. Esotericism can be very dense.
Yeah.
It can be very hard for people to wrap their heads around. Do you have any pointers or any tips or anything for anybody who has never gotten into, like, if someone came to you and is like, I'm sort of interested in this idea of esotericism and the occult, but I've never read any sort of, like, anything actually in it. What would you say is a good place to start and some good mentalities for trying to wrap your head around these things, which is intentionally hard for people to understand, things with multiple layers of meaning and things like that?
Well, I know when I was younger, just to backtrack a little bit, just being raised in a Baptist household, I had a lot of early introduction into Christianity. And mainly I know from my own understanding, being brought up in a religious household, you're more readily available to pick up on ideas that, but then again, that's not a complete bias from me, because I know that really digging into that, it just depends on what you're searching for. What do you wish to get from it, or what do you want to learn? And I know one of the best things for beginners, it might be a step backwards, would be to read the Tao Te Ching, because I know that took me back to a simplicity. It's best not to go in with taking reality so seriously. Don't look at it so objectively. Just keep your mind open like a child. Whenever you're about to pursue a path like that, you have to keep yourself open. Without being open that way, nothing can reach you.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. The Tao Te Ching really was like one of my, like, when I had first sort of re-entered into spirituality.
Day drinking the day, sorry.
When I had first like re-entered into spirituality, the Tao Te Ching was like the most non-coarse thing there was. I wasn't like I had like also grown up Christian, and I'd fallen away from that, and I felt like there was a period of time where, like, there was a sort of spiritual void, and I wasn't looking for any sort of hellfire preaching or anything like that. And even like a lot of like Buddhist scriptures can be sort of like hellfiery.
Well, yeah, what is it, Naraka? Apparently there's about 28 hells in Buddhist religion, I think.
Oh yeah, the Naraka.
Yeah, the Naraka, and I know Avicii is the last one, where apparently it takes, well, at least either the Hindus or the Buddhists say that it takes about 3.4 quintillion years to get out of. I mean, they say like salvation is open to all, but it said if you shed the blood of a Buddha, if you cause problems in the monastery or like purposefully bring
Cause a
schisms.
schism, and if you kill your mother. Or
Oh yeah,
father.
with intention, yeah, you go to fucking Avicii.
And there was like the Buddha's nephew who was swallowed like whole by the Naraka, because he went and threw a stone at the Buddha. It like caused him to it cut his foot, and because of that, he was on his way to go apologize, and as he was walking, the ground just swallowed him up, according to the scriptures. But there's a lot of that sort of stuff in Buddhism, you know, but the Taoism, you know, it's a way more sort of tranquil re-entrance into spirituality versus something like even Buddhism or Hinduism or Vedic traditions. Or I feel like the Taoism, if you dig deep enough, there definitely is like concepts of like hells and purgatories and stuff like that, but it's not as apparent as Buddhism. And
Yeah.
Buddhism doesn't make it as apparent as Christianity, you know, or any like Abrahamic religion for the most part.
Yeah, I know I found more practical application through Western occultism and Buddhism than I've found within Abrahamic religions, or at least something that reflects more so on like modern day life. You know, things, if they wish to survive, they have to not necessarily become one with the fucking zeitgeist, but you know, something that can persist and be a living thing. Because once a religion becomes dead and like the practices become hollow, it becomes a reflection of the people. You know, it's like being held back by a dead hand. You know, and when you are, at least with my understanding, is when you go into anything like Buddhism, Thelema, or like when you actively live a path, you know, you should put your heart into it and just be a reflection of life itself. Which I know a lot of ideas too of being like unborn, or the Buddhists talking about casting away the shell. A lot of it does seem extremely nihilistic, but when you actively dig deeper and you've felt that itself, it's nothing sad, you know, it's a hard fact of reality, or at least the wheel that we're spinning on.
Have you seen the meme? It's like Buddhist philosophers contemplating the concept of nothingness, and it shows like the super like at peace like person, and there's like Western philosophers contemplating the concept of nothingness, and it's like the like dread face, like, you know what have you seen that meme?
Yeah.
I'm not doing the best job describing it, but for real, like that is like people. It is funny, like the difference between like Eastern and Western, and the concept of nothingness. You know, like especially when you get into more like modern, like sort of like, you know, like nihilism, the concept of nothingness in that versus the concept of nothingness in like Buddhism.
I know, excuse me, old Dogen himself, he always talked about if this form of annihilation bothers you, you're not well equipped for the path itself. Which a lot of them too, when you're that, which I know I'm not somebody that can stay within one religion exactly. I appreciate the word's escaping me at the moment. It's not eclecticism,
I think that is
eclectic. Oh yeah,
eclecticism.
yeah, to be eclectic with different beliefs. But I do appreciate folks that can find that structured faith or whatever they have burning inside of them and follow through, because that's something that seems kind of scarce, or at least in decline these days, with a lot of fucking bouts of hopelessness permeating these changing times. But it is good to just find your way. And
Well, I've always been big on like the like chaos magic sort of like idea of like not getting stuck in, what was it, Anton Wilson who like had the term like reality tunnels.
oh yeah, Robert Anton Wilson, he talked a lot about folks being stuck in reality tunnels where you get so fixated on the way that you're living, and all of these worries and everything that come outside start to be inside of you, and like your vision just starts to fucking pinhole, and you don't have that open view that I recommended from the Tao Te Ching that opens all of that back up. I know most of the time I have to scatter quotes here and there, but I know Marcus Aurelius definitely said it best in that aspect. What happens outside of you only matters if you decide that it matters. That one, it's a very broad statement, but you choose the way that you're living your life, and you can choose what will ultimately affect you, or like the way that you respond to it.
But even like sort of like more in the context of like belief and like going back to sort of like eclecticism in spiritual practice, it's like I think one of the things that he was getting at was like our beliefs shape our reality.
Most
So if you
definitely.
can, so like there's sort of like a sort of chaos magic-y thing that some people do where they'll like sort of do like dartboard beliefs, like picking something. I'm gonna vehemently believe this week and vehemently disbelieve it next week.
Some people just have floating brains. It's. I know whenever I've been lost or felt lost, I'll start searching, and you just kind of see what clicks with you. Because I know I've gotten stuck in my own head a lot. Who doesn't? It's just getting out of it. That's the main problem, and something that I have found very useful within chaos magic and thelema is just the ways of finding out what you're meant to do in this life and what you want to pursue.
Hell yeah, something not to really like crown and anchor. I also feel like a big thing for me is getting out in nature.
Yeah, that's a great reset. Each time I go out, especially very recently, I went on a hike on Signal Knob by myself, and it was hot as hell that day. I've also never been out in the George Washington National Park before. A very beautiful place. But the further up that I went to, I found a clearing on the side of the mountain, and there were two dead trees that were like this, and it reminded me of a Shinto gate. And whenever you go through Shinto gates, they're nature portals, and I had a feeling like as soon as I saw them, that image appeared, and it is interesting how you can just go into the woods with a very clouded mind, but after just walking alone, sweating out some salt and toxins, you really do get a different view of your life. You have to reach the middle of the mountain to see both the bottom and the top. You can't. It's not good to stay at the top or the bottom very long because your vision gets cloudy.
Yeah, for real. Like I remember, like my first song that I ever wrote was Buzzard's Roost, and I think the whole like sort of meaning of that song is just like you have to get up to the top of the mountain to run down the other side.
It's very true.
But you know, there's a lot of comparisons to be found in nature. Wait, did you want to? Did you have any things you wanted to read from the book?
Uh, that I'm not sure. I don't have anything planned at the moment. I didn't bring my materials.
This is a smoke break. This is the relaxed fit.
Yeah, I have been appreciating going back to just older Japanese poetry because they were so concise and right on the point with nature itself and just simple living. Something that I have appreciated too from the directness of Bukowski. I know he's definitely an asshole, but he did get it to the point very often, and that I also enjoy too in Japanese poetry. Bosho, and I don't know if it's Basho or Bosh. Yeah, Bos. Day drinking. But Basho, he wrote a lot of haiku throughout his years, and back in the Edo period where he was, where he found his uh, roots in poetry, and he is one of the greatest literary geniuses in Japanese history. Uh, Edo was a very uh, happening place back in the day. It was actually one of the biggest cities in the world with about 1 million people. Not a lot of capitals in the world were that popular or that.
That poppin'.
Yeah, that poppin'.
That populous.
Back in the 16 and 1700s. But I know he wrote a lot about just peasant lifestyle. He had a lot to do with there was a lot of homoerotic poetry and paintings back in the day, and like Japan was very like they were spearheading LGBT movements back like fucking way before definitely way before America, and America's still having issues with it today.
The East was way
Yeah.
far ahead in terms like there was like sort of like in some like Chinese traditions I've heard there was like some like non-binary like deities.
Yeah. They just viewed love being love, and like even within their own spirituality, it was nature based. They didn't, at least from my knowledge, they didn't witch hunt people for being homosexual or having different. I mean, unless you were a Christian in Japan back in the day, you're definitely getting persecuted. That was a very big thing, and I think it was the Sunahara War, or the Battle of Sunahara, where they just completely wiped out the Christian colony in Japan after saying please stop, and they didn't stop. So I think, yeah, Miyamoto Musashi, one of his last battles, he went up there with the shogun at the time and just helped. But this is one of my favorites from Basho. I washed my feet, and then, all of a sudden, the dawn, asleep with clothes on. And I can think about that many nights of just falling asleep in jeans with the fucking wallet in my back pocket like a savage.
Believe that.
A lot of, or at least this book itself, the complete haiku of Basho, A lot of his poetry was just based on the nature he was in and also the journeys he took throughout his life. Haiku is something that I'm not too well versed in writing myself. I've attempted it, but I think very few of them I'm proud of because I haven't gotten the full essence like the way that the old masters had. I do have a buddy named Roshi that taught me a lot with, or at least what I know of Taoism and Buddhism when first starting out. He wrote very good haiku, but I don't think he has a social media presence anymore because he finally said, I'm going to renounce this. So if he one day sees this, I appreciate you, and one day I'll forget your name. As it goes with Taoists, they're like, don't have funeral rites for me. Don't remember my name. All we have is this moment and this moment alone. And I'm like, you know what? There's always a bromance there.
I thought the Taoists believed that if you like die in, if people, if the dead die in the memories, then they're just like gone, but they're like still here if they're still in the memory. Well, I guess if you really want to like dissolve into the Tao.
Yeah, people want to be forgotten. You know, I mean, we will be forgotten. That's the funny part of it. This fucking antagonization towards death itself, even though we're all going to be reclaimed by that flowing green wave. That's where all the poetry comes from. It's just accepting the fact and being here right now. The alchemical ideas of eternal life is being immortal and knowing you have this short fucking breath of existence.
You gotta turn that lead into gold.
You're right about that.
Hell yeah.
It's a beautiful day, man. I didn't, when I woke up, I felt like shit, but I actually feel pretty nice now.
Hell yeah. Is there anything you want to like shout out or plug or anything? Shout out to Sunflowers Beyond the Red Mist. Make sure you pick that up.
Yeah, I'm still selling that on my Lulu website right now. I have it in my bio, both on Facebook and Instagram. Currently working on another book of poetry and ramblings at the moment. It's probably, I can't put any direct dates on it yet because it's still being edited and added on to, but it is going to be a lot larger than the book before and a little bit more polished off than my first publication, which that in itself was definitely a weight lifted off my chest because that was poetry and ramblings from earlier times when I never thought that I'd be able to fucking put anything out there, or at least have people appreciate the types of things that I've written. But I am very thankful for the 20 people that have bought it, and I'm hoping that I can be on some more bookshelves one day. And that's what's going to bring me eternal life or peace right now too, is just knowing that my words can affect other people and hopefully bring a little bit of peace in the suffering.
Get them out there, people. Can you have like people request you in their local bookshops? Like, how would that work?
Well, there is a bookshop in town that I was thinking about going to because they have had book signings there from local artists, but I haven't taken the step to ask them if I could do that. I know the library does stuff like that, or Samuel's Public Library, but I haven't taken liberty to do that yet. Mainly finances and being a struggling artist are definitely it just goes hand in hand. When you're a writer, you get enough money to starve to death. That's generally how it goes. It's better to get a profession like cleaning trash cans out at the airport, or just be forklift certified. That it's not about the physical work you do to survive. It's about the fucking spiritual work and the great work you use to uplift other people. It can only be the great work if it's impacting all the people around you. The great work inside yourself is supposed to be a reflection upon others too. Because you can have an internal mysticism, but that's not the great work. The great work permeates all things, and you're just a part of it, another verse.
Hell yeah.
It took a long time to remember that. Even when you get lost, the primal virtue comes through. Just like earlier, you can lose your way, but the way is always there waiting for you. But I would like to recite the Book of Lies very soon while I'm working on my next book. And maybe sometime soon I might get a few more poems out there, or recite a few more from Sunflowers Beyond the Red Mist.
Hell yeah. Well, y'all, I got a new song that is cooked up and is featuring a special guest, and probably name drop that in the next smoke break, so stay tuned for that. Anything else?
I appreciate everyone that is just yeah, I appreciate everybody that is out there supporting local artists and just those in their lives that are dedicating their lives to what they love doing. And I feel like there's no reason in this life, or at least there is. I'm starting to feel this in the room now. I'm not used to that. Little mental fuzzle there. But what I do mean to say is that in life, the best thing to do is to share the love that you have and just help people, help those that you love, and just share your bounty. And I am gonna have to stop talking now, because I'm definitely there.
But for real though, shout out everybody who's helped show support to my projects, the T-Dogs projects.
Oh yeah, I'm very thankful for everyone that has kept me alive this far. I know my book's made well over $200, and that definitely is going towards my savings account and keeping me alive. So I am very thankful for everyone that has believed in my words, and I also believe in your dreams and happiness.
Hell
93.
93. Love is the law.
Wonder will.
Much love, y'all.
Bye-bye.